What's up, everyone? Welcome to Cohn Zone South. Usually Thursday is 49ers coast to coast, but my co-host Jason Aponte is at a Yankee game, so we're taking it to Dallas with my dear friend Kelly Barr, who makes like a Saturday Night Live guest appearance once every few months on the show. It's good to have you, Kelly. How you doing?
Hey, man, I'm doing pretty good. And, you know, as a fellow Yankees fan, I'd love to step in for somebody to attend the Yankees game. So it's brilliant. Like, things work out for a reason.
What I like about Kelly a lot is Kelly's a little bit older than me, and Kelly's kind of got a salty, not salty, but a realistic view of what's going on. And like every 2-3 months, it kind of bubbles over like a volcano, and he hits me up in the DMs like, man, these 4 things are really bugging me. And I'm like, it's time to talk. It's time to go on live. And the first time you ever came on was the day after the Super Bowl. It was the best post-Super Bowl rant. It's still on my YouTube channel. I think it's 49ers fan from Texas. I didn't Google that. It's fantastic if you're trying to see who Kelly really is. So today, what's on Kelly's mind is Fred Warner and a lot of these financial stuff that we sort of assume the Niners are going to take care of, but Kelly's got some historical context to add. So Kelly, the question of the day is, are the 49ers a Moneyball franchise?
That is the question. And I think it's a simple answer of yes. I mean, I think history tells us so in a lot of the moves they've made, you know, dating back to when the actual salary cap was put into place. I mean, you're basically saying 95, 94 Super Bowls were determined by money. Like, who was willing to pay Deion Sanders? In 94, it was our Niners. In 95, it was the Cowboys. And that determined the outcome of the Super Bowl. We met in the NFC Championship game both years. Like the same 2 teams, and whoever had Deion won that game. And, you know, to be frank, that was the last Super Bowl won by either team, either franchise, I should say.
Right.
So I just, you know, as I listen to you in Dish on Monday, which I listen to a lot of the YouTubes. I don't necessarily get to see them live, so I don't comment a whole lot, but I was listening to y'all's conversation about money and whatnot and what we were doing. And as I told you in the beginning, like, here we are with a rookie QB. Mm-hmm. You know, it's going to set us up to be able to spend money in other places. Will the franchise do that is what I was asking myself. You know, and I just don't think they would. I mean, if we look at this past season, I don't think we would be that close to the salary cap if it weren't for COVID, for the cap going down.
Right. Right. Yeah. So again, what we're saying is, I've been saying for the whole week, get rid of Jimmy, spend the money elsewhere. And the most likely scenario is they either keep Jimmy as a backup or they get rid of Jimmy and don't spend the money.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's like we were saying, like, okay, you know, Deion, like, I look back at the Harbaugh years.
Yeah.
Where was the big expenditures? You know, Justin Smith, like, you know, we re-signed a lot of our own players, you know, Staley, we kept Willis, you know, Bowman's contract. I kind of remember it being a little contentious.
Yep.
You know,
that's right. That's true.
So, like, we didn't spend a lot back then. Kaepernick's contract was very team friendly.
Yes.
And then I look at current.
Yeah, go ahead.
At current times, like, you know, here we are, where, you know, we took Kittle up to the last minute, like heartbeat of the team, you know, 1 or 2, depending on who you ask, best tight ends in the league. Like, it was like the day before training camp before he actually signed that contract. Mm-hmm. You know, your number 2 pick in the draft, you know, Bosa was the day before training camp started, before they finally finalized that deal. And I just don't see this with a lot of franchises around the league. Now, mind you, I only super keep up with the Niners, but I'm looking at everything. I'm not avoiding other teams' conversation.
There's more, though. Trey Lance hasn't signed.
Trey Lance hadn't signed this year, you know.
Right.
And
Fred Warner
sitting there. I mean, Warner is your guy. You drafted him. He's the best, if not top 2 linebackers in the league. And Like, what is the holdup? You know, I don't understand it unless you're playing Moneyball. Like, you traded Buckner, why? Because
Moneyball.
he wanted too much money.
Yeah.
Like, you kept Armstead because he didn't want, a
As much.
boatload.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ward, same way. Like, why did you keep Ward? Because you could, and what is one of our biggest issues? Injuries.
Mm-hmm.
And when you bring in injured players, what do you get them on? A slight discount at the very least.
That's right. It's like shopping at the
Dollar General or the dollar store and wondering why your T-shirt, even though it said Fruit of Balloon, fell apart 2 weeks later after you washed it.
That's right.
D Ford. Like, we went through it. Like, we were after Mac. You know what I'm saying? We wanted Khalil Mack. Like, everybody was upset because we won that one game and it probably cost us Myles Garrett.
Right.
So why was D Ford available? Because he had an injury history. He had a back problem that don't go away. Back problems don't go away. So I feel like this money thing, and it's real clever what they do. They spend in other areas.
Yes. Fullback,
or Arizona. We took care of the players. Like, man, we paid for
no
everything.
expense.
Like, what were you gonna do? Charge them? They were like, Arizona, like, hey, we took care of the hotel bill, the food. What was the other option?
You're supposed to do that. As Chris Rock was saying, you're supposed to do that.
They want credit for that type of thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Even though they should do those things. And before we became good, what did we do? Every year it was, oh, we had this like 50 million. We're going to roll it over. Don't worry. Like, when we're good, we're going to spend that money.
Also, instead of going out and getting the best training staff that you can get in the NFL, they got some guy from the NHL. What bargaining power did he have over the 49ers? He's never even done anything in football. So I'm guessing he's probably not that expensive.
And Steve, and you used the perfect word, like Parag and the Niners love bargaining power.
Yeah.
You understand? Yeah. That's their thing. Like, they want to bargain for the best deal. And I get it. As a corporation, you always want, but you have a product you're trying to put on the field.
Yep.
And, at the end of the day, your bargain being basement shopping is costing you in the long run.
I think they have some excuses, like the fact that they're in California with the high tax rates hurts them in free agency. So if they're going after the top players that aren't on their team already, a lot of times they'll lose out to a team in Texas or Florida if the money's the same, because it's not the same after taxes. But we're talking about how the Niners handle their own players. Shouldn't be an issue, right? This seems like anytime they come up to a negotiating table with great players that they've developed at premium positions, there's a problem. What's going on with Fred Warner? George Kittle took forever. Buckner didn't get done. It makes you wonder, like, Fred Warner, the reason why I think this is a topic is the Niners have zero bargaining power over Fred Warner. True. What can they say? He's never gotten hurt. He never misses a game. He's the leader of the defense. He's young. And middle linebackers are expensive. Bobby Wagner's getting 17. Warner could ask, he's going to get much more than George Kittle.
Yeah, much more.
He's going to be up in the Buckner territory.
And because of the position he plays, like, not many people would argue with the fact that he did hold out and was like, look, I'm just not going out there if I'm not well compensated. Like, I play a dangerous position. Like, I could easily be out in a heartbeat. True. I mean, look at Borland. Like, what was it, one season? Maybe
he's also the quarterback of the defense on a team that just lost its coordinator. I mean, he's super valuable. They can't go a month without Fred Warner.
And that's what points back to this being who they are. Because, like we're saying, everything points to just lock him up and be done.
Oh, I got one more. Trent Williams. That would have fallen apart, but Kyle had to make the call.
Yeah, last minute. Like, look, guys, I'm about to go sign with the Chiefs if y'all don't fix it. And Kyle fixed it. You know, so I mean, it's a plan, and it goes beyond Kyle.
It's a pattern, especially with the Yorks. You went back to Dion and Eddie D. That was the beginning of the salary cap, and I don't think Eddie D and Carmen really ever had a great handle on that. It was new to them. They won their championships when you could just outpay people. But the Yorks are supposed to be, this is their thing, right? They have Parag. He's the best. But you kind of get a sense of how they do business. They like doing business with people that they have leverage over, and that they had no leverage over Buckner. What are you going to say to Buckner? You're not that
Right.
good?
Everybody, Buckner is exactly what Warner is.
Right.
Like, it's the only difference is, like, you know, the excuse they use is we didn't draft, but what does that have to do with it?
I know,
You didn't draft Jimmy Ward.
Right.
And you given him a 1-year deal after his rookie deal was gone, and then you signed him to another deal. Like, so they try to throw that out. Well, Buckner wasn't that guy, so that's why they let him go. He was an elite player at his position.
And he's worth the money he makes, as opposed to Eric Armstead, who's a little cheaper, but isn't worth the money he makes.
Right. And we keep hoping, like, you know, like you and Fish were talking about, like, we're hoping Bosa comes back, you know, a second-year guy. We're hoping, you know, the Rams guy over here, like, we're hoping Kinlaw. We're hoping, like, it's kind of, isn't Armstead the epitome of Jimmy on offense? Like, we're hoping all these pieces around him make him good. Instead of just saying, like, this dude is good.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm with you on that.
Good. I don't think he's elite. I think he's a good player, but I don't think he's elite. I don't think he lives up to the paycheck. He doesn't make the players around him better. That's for sure.
Yeah. And like, Buckner did. And Fred Warner does. Fred Warner does. So I'm curious to see. I mean, he has all the leverage against the Niners. Mm-hmm. You know, he really, there's not much negotiation to do.
Kittles was always talking about, like, look, I'm not going out there. And Fred was just like, look, I'm gonna show up. Like, this is what I do for a living.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way I look at it too. Like, even with Kittle, the Niners had some leverage because he's just a tight end.
Right.
He's not a wide receiver. You know,
what would the players tag? What would the franchise tag be for a tight end? Being their salaries were already so low, but like you were saying, like top 5 linebacker is probably what, 15 mil?
Yes.
14?
Yes. So what Warner can do is kind of, he doesn't need to hold out. He can come. He can play on this cheap contract for 1 more year if the Niners want to play Moneyball, and then he can just leave. I mean, they could franchise tag him if they want, but that's a lot of money for a middle linebacker.
Right.
Is it not?
And
it is.
Going to hit the cap at once. The only right side would probably be the cap should go up considerably next year to be able to maybe, and Jimmy's contract.
But again, Darius Leonard's going to get paid. A bunch of middle linebackers are up for extension. So it's going to go up and up. The franchise amount is going to go up and up. The Niners really should get this done now, but they have no leverage. I'm not surprised this is dragging on and on and on. Because if there's no urgency on Fred Warner's side, which there may not be, then how's this going to get done? Given what we know about the Niners,
to you, like, if there was like hesitancy by Fred, wouldn't the Niners kind of leak that? Like, hey, like we're ready to negotiate with Fred. He's just not ready, and we don't begrudge him of that. Like, it's his career.
And we haven't heard anything like that. Yeah,
exactly, because that would be in their favor. The fan base would be like, oh, okay, you know.
What's more likely is that they haven't even presented him with a real offer yet.
Exactly. I mean, that's the impression Lynch gave us.
Yeah,
like, you know, kind of that's on the back burner. We'll
handle that at the deadline. Okay, well,
it's nothing.
So you're going to leave yourself like a day to negotiate this, and what if it's not up to? We'll see what happens. That'll be a nice little drama that'll play out in about 4 weeks. So we'll find out. But let's move on. The Niners have a brick by brick philosophy, right? That is they have mantras. One of them is all gas, no brakes, which may explain some of the injuries. Maybe they need more brakes.
And also,
I know, but honestly, maybe they need to chill with the all gas, no brakes thing. But the other thing,
I agree with that.
more brakes, less gas. Okay, but the other thing is the brick by brick thing. And the Niners been building these bricks they've been putting bricks up for years. This is year 5 of the brick building, and they only have 1 winning season to show for it. Do you think there's too much emphasis on this team in particular, in the league in general, on the 5-year plan and not like seizing the moment, carpe diem, that kind of thing?
I think the plan is brilliant. Like, I think having a plan and going by it is brilliant, with the caveat of being able to adjust given the circumstances. which they
Yes.
showed a little bit in 2019.
Right, when they traded for Emmanuel Sanders. Yes.
Right. We see an opportunity here. Let's seize it. My thing is, like I told you, is it better to be lucky than good?
Yes.
And to me, I've always thought, yeah, it's better to be lucky. But in reality, I think you need to be good
to create the luck.
Have the luck.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and the way I explained it to you was, look at the success. I mean, the obvious successes to me. I'm not counting Bosa. That's number 2 pick. Okay. It's early, but I'm gonna go with IU. I'm gonna say that's a plan. That's the guy they wanted. They got him. Looks like a very good receiver. Year one. Like, got a little dinged up last year, but showed promise. The other one I'm gonna give him, we just got off of his topic. Fred Warner, drafted number 3. This is the spot you wanted to play him in. This is what he does. He's done it very well.
Kittle,
luck. Okay, I don't care what, I think I heard York on the podcast like, oh yeah, right now, I mean, we wanted Kittle. We knew we could get him here, so we drafted him here. But we should have probably took him in the first round. Like, that's nonsense. As many bad trade-ups as we've made for players, there's no way they knew Kittle was going to be this good and just sat there like, because they would do that every draft. But they don't. Like, they traded back for Kinlaw just to, in the same round, give that pick up to move up for IU. So they don't make those type of moves. Same with this year, with moving up for Sermon. Like, you got something to move back and draft the O-lineman you said you wanted, and then you use that to move up for a running back who you may not need because Bobby Sermon finds running back. And you probably could have got Mitchell,
Bobby Turner,
undrafted free agent. Same way you got Breida. So again, luck. Who was one of your best running backs? Mostert.
Yeah.
Luck. You didn't sign him. He was already on the team. He was basically special teams. You didn't even see him as a very good running back, or you wouldn't have him as your best gunner on special teams. So that's luck. Again, Greenlaw, like, fell into your lap. You might have thought he had promise. So I just see a lot of the things they do as they end up being lucky rather than good.
Yes.
You thought Witherspoon was going to be your guy, but you got lucky that you went ahead and picked up E-Man as an undrafted free agent. And he was able to come in and pick up.
Got lucky that Jason Verrett became healthy after 5 years on the shelf.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's my question. Like, why do the things they plan not work out? Again, edge rusher, luck. Well, not luck, because we don't want to wish injury on anybody. But the only reason the edge rusher kind of got fixed was due to, you had an injury-prone D Ford that was up, and Chiefs were willing to move him, and Jimmy was out for the year, so you had the number 2 pick, and, the Cardinals decided to blow up their whole team and draft a quarterback at number 1. So Bosa was there for you. Again, kind of lucky.
Yeah.
So Kyle's offense isn't lucky.
No.
Like, Kyle schemes it, it's a beautiful offense. But the other things that work out are proven things. D Ford, proven. Sherman, coming off injury, but a proven guy.
You know what else would be luck? If they somehow had a healthy season. Because I don't think they're going to do anything.
In 2019, that the injuries weren't, catastrophic.
No, there were a lot of injuries in 2019. It's just that Jimmy.
Some of them were, so-and-so's out for the season. So, big time players. It was.
They're lucky they started that season 8-0 because they didn't really, they kind of limped to the finish.
We did. I mean, like, that's why people are like, people give Greenlaw too much credit for that, stop in Seattle. Like, do you understand how big that bye week was?
If he didn't make that one tackle, they wouldn't have got to the Super Bowl.
I don't think so.
That team was gassed.
Would D Ford have even played the next week to start the playoffs?
A team was gassed. They lost to Atlanta down the stretch, man. Atlanta at home. That team was terrible.
It was. Last second play, but I mean, hard.
Exactly. It was definitely last second play, but like, that team, they ran through the first half of the season, but they beat Jameis Winston, Andy Dalton, backups, straight up backups. Mason Rudolph,
a lot of luck, right? The Steelers,
Baker Mayfield, but Freddie Kitchens, Kyle Allen, Case Keenum. It was a lot of luck.
It was a lot of luck.
A lot of luck.
So that's the only thing that scares me is like when they plan something, it usually doesn't go the way they want it to.
Yeah,
it's gonna be hard to beat out
McKinnon.
Cassius Marsh.
Jerick McKinnon, when he went down,
McKinnon was a plan.
Man, you can't blame the Niners this year. Jerick McKinnon was supposed to be the whole offense.
Man, that was the plan. Was the plan.
Yeah,
Jeff Wilson, luck.
Oh my goodness, Jeff Wilson, luck. The whole running back room. Yep.
Yeah, didn't get used enough in my opinion.
So, hey, when Kyle Shanahan, if he ever says that he's been unlucky with injuries on the 49ers, let's just remember all the things he's been lucky with, all the personnel things that's worked out in round 5, 6, 7, and after.
Yeah, it is. It's like life. Things kind of end up leveling out. It's just you have to seize the opportunity when it presents itself.
And I wonder if they're going to do that this year, or if they're not really necessarily sold out to win a Super Bowl. But we're going to talk about that in a minute. But first, let's talk about this trade up to number 3. In your opinion, was this the plan all along, as we just talked about, or was this something that sort of fell into place at the end?
I think it was a last resort, personally. I mean, everybody is looking at it like, hey, they just saw an opportunity to move up. They saw a player they really wanted. Well, if that's the case, you flirted with Tom Brady after the Super Bowl. Matthew Stafford, you went after him. Like nobody acknowledges. Like Javi, you on with Niners Nation, and Javi still beats himself up about the Stafford thing. Like Lynch admitted during the press conference after the trade up to 3 that they were in on Stafford.
Hey, hold on. First of all, I had sources too, and from what I understood, Stafford's camp was under the impression that he was going to the Niners. Not that it was a done deal, but that they were the most serious team. And if you remember, like there were odds. I don't know who initially was the front runner for Stafford, but it changed, and the Niners went to number 1. They were interested, from what I understand. Stafford was interested, from what I understand, and no one realized that the Rams were going to make such an aggressive move at the last minute.
Exactly, which is what they do. I mean,
it's what they do.
Kind of the same situation with Ramsey. Like everybody was thinking the Niners might get Jalen Ramsey. Like,
same situation with Jamal Adams, from what I understand, because I was reporting on that one that it was actually gaining steam, and no one thought that the Seahawks would trade 2 first-round picks for him. So, same thing that happened with Stafford, yeah.
And even going back to Khalil Mack, that kind of seems like a trend as well. Like,
you're
so close
but no cigar.
to that guy you want. Yep. And maybe like Trey Lance is the only one in the only situation where nobody else was willing to pay that price to move up to 3.
Right.
But in that case, you are going after an unknown. Like, the other situations, what you have there. But
also Odell Beckham.
Right. But what is trade? Cheaper. Back to the, it all goes full circle. So I think
there was also Deshaun Watson. It's like, well, we don't need to go after Stafford because there's Watson.
That was my next thing. Like,
sorry,
they went after Watson. So it's like all these.
There was Wentz as well. They could have gone after Wentz. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Flacco was in the building. Like all these other things.
Darnold was talked about. Teddy Bridgewater was talked about. Yep.
Yeah, they were not trading up to 3 if they got Stafford. Come on. No. If they got Watson, they wouldn't have had a pick to trade up to number 3. So I don't think this was the plan. Will it work out? Like we're saying in the last segment, luck has been better for them than the plan. So this wasn't the plan, but they knew they needed to do something with Jimmy, which kind of, branches off to this other thing. Like we all get the help. Jimmy. Yep. But did I imagine Kyle's reactions last year on the sideline to Jimmy's play or the year before?
No.
Why do we only speak of Jimmy as if he stayed healthy? No. Kyle didn't want him even if he did not stay healthy. If he stayed healthy, Kyle did not want Jimmy. Like he needed to go regardless. But
if he stayed healthy in 2018, he would have had a pretty bad year. It was not looking good. 28 before he tore his ACL. And again, the 2019 season is very much padded by that 8-0 start. It seems to me that by the time he got to about 20 starts in his career, the league had figured him out.
Yeah. I think somebody said it. I can't remember where, but somebody said it like it was like 2 or 3 games. Yes, Jimmy did a lot to win those games in 2019, like to help win those games.
Yeah.
But that was about it. Most of those games were running game and the defense dominated.
His most legendary game is the one against the Saints. All right. In that game, he has that throw to Emmanuel Sanders that he underthrows big time. Sanders has to stop. He like falls catching it. He's wide open, has to get up and run. It wasn't a good throw. And then
backwards.
And then he had a big lead again in the fourth quarter, gave it up, and just like in the Super Bowl. And the only reason they won is because freaking George Kittle broke 18 tackles and ran for 45 yards on 4th and 2 on a pass that was like below his
yards on the first 3 plays.
The pass was at his ankles, like behind the line of scrimmage. He catches it, turns upfield, and carries the whole defense 45 yards. I mean, that's Jimmy's best game. And the next week, you know what he did? Lost to the Falcons at home. So I think Jimmy is so overrated. He's the Niners' Jared Goff. And, you know, when they do get rid of him, Niner fans will just totally wipe their mouth at him. It's like, you know what? Ugh, we're done. That's your problem. And they will not look at him in the same way anymore.
I hope that's the case. Maybe because Alex Smith was drafted by us. Because I still see a love fest with Alex Smith well after the fact. You know, it's like, y'all like who? I don't remember the whole, like, maybe a little bit of you heard a locker room noise about Alex, but the fan base was so ready to move on to Kaepernick.
That is true. That is
true.
Now
like he's some cold hero. Like, again, back to a Saints game. Like, oh, you remember Alex Smith in that Saints game? Like,
yeah.
Come on, man.
What I want to say, though, is so the Niners probably were lucky to get up to number 3. It was a last resort. But I think that
last resort. It was like nothing we've tried this offseason has worked out. So what can we do now?
But, you know, you could say that me coming on YouTube and doing live streams 3 times a day was a last resort. This wasn't the plan. But sometimes it's better to not. Sometimes the plan sucks. Sometimes life is like, you know, isn't really impressed with your plan. And what's most important is how you react once your plan doesn't work. So I like the idea of getting Lance better than Wentz. I mean, they went to the same school. One's way younger, has none of the baggage physically, emotionally, spiritually. I don't know. I like Lance. Yeah,
I like Lance too, and I hope they develop him. Like that's the key to me is the development, and that's why, you know, leading into the next topic, you know, that's why is Jimmy just gone from scapegoat to you know, let's call it cologne for, you know, this upcoming season.
Yes.
Because everybody says can't win a Super Bowl with a rookie QB.
Can't do it. Can't even get to a Super Bowl with one.
Right. So if you start a rookie Super Bowl, we just left the Super Bowl 2 years ago. Last year was awful, but the only excuse for last year was injuries.
Yeah.
So if we blow up the team now and go back to semi-bad or, you know, just mediocre, like, how are we going to sell that?
Yeah.
If we keep Jimmy, you know, Eric Davis, love him. We still a Super Bowl contender because we have Jimmy. We have a veteran quarterback.
Eric Davis does love him.
Yeah, he does. He loves Jimmy. I don't get it, but he loves Jimmy. Like, I get his logic because it's like, if all you ever had is sugar and that's the only thing that's ever made you feel good, like, and they give you salt every now and then, but they don't know how to cook with salt, you know, like you like, give me that sugar. But like, just because, like we said, just because Mullins and CJ weren't great doesn't make Jimmy a world beater.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think that's what they're using Jimmy for this year, because if you really had hopes of a Super Bowl, why would you do the 1-year deal on everybody? Like, it hurts the cap to do these 1-year deals. So I think it's just all like, you know, papering over what you really want to do instead of just saying, look, okay, like we're saying, like they want to say the plan is working.
Yes.
Instead of just saying, you know what, things didn't go the way we wanted to the first 3 or 4 years. Yes, we ended up in a Super Bowl, but this foundation isn't going to take us where we want to go eventually. So we're chipping off Jimmy. We're starting this guy, Trey Lance. He's our future, and we're building around that.
Yep.
If these vets on 1-year deals don't want to get with it, we will ship them off best we can and bring in some young guys,
Yep.
raise some practice squads. But that's not what, that's what we're doing. What we're doing is we're selling the fact that because we have Jimmy G, we're a Super Bowl contender. And
Right.
I don't see it. I mean, it's relying on a lot of luck to get there.
I see it the other way around. To me, as long as Jimmy Garoppolo is on this team with this contract, they're not a Super Bowl contender. You can't have the most overpaid player in the league on your team and be a Super Bowl contender. He's the problem. And they're selling it that he's the
solution.
Not the solution, but like he's the one giving them a possibility. When no, it's the talented quarterback making $6 million this year. I don't care how old he is. I think a rookie quarterback's going to do it. It's only been 10 years of this rookie wage scale, which is the relevant time. Don't tell me about 2004 or 1997. That doesn't matter. Or the 80s. Dan Marino didn't do it. Who cares? The whole thing is that these guys seem to be pretty good. Look at how good Justin Herbert was. Look at how good most of these young quarterbacks are that can move, and then you figure in how cheap they are. Well, then you could put together a great team around them, and they're ready to compete. So we saw it with Russell Wilson. He won in his second year. He was deep in the playoffs his first year, and he wasn't the reason they didn't win a Super Bowl his rookie year. It was the team wasn't quite good enough. Then they improved it.
And I think the one thing Trey has that could help you win a Super Bowl, like if we look at some of the teams that have won a Super Bowl and their quarterback, Flacco played great, okay, but let's look at like a Brad Johnson.
Yeah,
like if you can not turn the ball over, if you can manage, I mean, like we said, Ben was close. Ben Roethlisberger was his second year. Maybe third.
He was his first year. I think he went 13-3 his first year.
Yeah, but I mean the Super Bowl.
I think he won the Super Bowl like his second or third year. Yeah.
So you like if Kyle manages the rookie QB right, you don't have to like completely blow up your Super Bowl chances. But it's kind of like, I'm about to start dating this other chick, but I don't want to let go of the girl I'm with right now. And I think a lot of it is save the face too. I've never understood it. People are like, I mean, maybe you can explain this. I gotta get something for Jimmy.
Hey, that's what I think it is. I gotta get something.
Was what 3 years ago?
Yes.
Like the pick is irrelevant. That second round pick is irrelevant now. Well, who cares if you get something for Jimmy? You saving damn near $30 million.
Yeah.
On your cap. Who cares if you get a pick back for Jimmy? I don't get that part. Like.
I get the feeling that there were offers for Jimmy Garoppolo last year after the Super Bowl that they turned down, and they feel dumb because now their offers aren't there, and the option is cut him, and they're thinking, just a year ago we had a good offer, and now it's if we could just get him one good year, the offers would come back, and it's like you're chasing the dragon, man. It's not coming back. Just move on. Just move on.
That is a bad habit. That is
a bad habit. You don't want to chase the dragon.
You do not want it. Ladies and gentlemen, do not chase the dragon.
You don't.
Google it if you need to know what that means.
That's what they're doing.
It is. And like, why would you be ready to move on to Brady if you didn't have an offer for Jimmy? Like, there's no way you were going to pay both of them. And
think about it. If the Niners had traded Jimmy after 2017, those 5 games, they could have got 3 first-round picks.
Oh yeah,
his value was here, and now it's like they can't fathom it. Yeah. They had this stock and it's tanked, and they think,
we have to. It's like if you make a purchase, and it's like maybe it was a bad purchase, maybe it looked like a good purchase, but it wasn't. And instead of just walking away from it, it's like I gotta get something because I made a bad decision or it turned out badly. I gotta get something for that.
Yes.
And it's like, why? Like, just move on. Because a lot of times, like we say, addition by subtraction. So a lot of times you can get better by just moving on from a situation. I told a friend of mine, like, it's like in a relationship, like a person can change.
Yes.
But a person won't change for you. If they're already that person, they're not going to change for you because you already put up with it.
That's true.
A lot of times you hang on because it's like, I could see a good person there, or if they did this, this, and this, man, they would be a great mate, but they're not going to do that for you. Maybe they move on and are the perfect husband or wife for somebody else, but they can't be that for you. Jimmy might be good somewhere else, but he can't be that for us anymore. And we've already told him that by drafting a quarterback at number 3.
Right. And real quick, the thing with this topic, they're hyping him up. He's the hype man of this Revenge Tour 2.0, this Super Bowl run. But really, that's not, I don't believe that's what it is. I mean, they want him, if he's on the field, it's only to try to boost up his trade value. That's what the meaning of the season becomes. And that to me is very dangerous, because the meaning of every season should be to win the Super Bowl. You don't put anything above that.
Or at least give
your best chance
for eventual Super Bowl success.
Exactly. Yes.
And how do you, the other thing is, like you're saying, like, okay, like give me the best case scenario of starting Jimmy.
Yeah, I mean, the best case scenario is he stays healthy and plays like he plays in 2019. I mean, do you see him improving? How?
Not really, but let's go with your scenario. How do you move on if he does that?
Right, exactly.
Number 3 overall pick.
It's even harder to make the transition next year. Yes.
There's no good scenario. Okay, he comes out and gets hurt. That lowers his trade value.
Yeah, but or he goes out and plays well, stays healthy, and then you're like, well, how do you trade him now?
Well, how do you trade him now? Now you're looking at Jed York's crazy scenario of let's sit a guy for 2 years. Like, does he even realize how much money that is? Like, I know Jimmy's probably like $54 million over the next 2 years.
Yes.
And the number 3 pick, like I heard y'all talking about Bosa, he was like $9 million this year as number 2. So I'm thinking what, 8, 7, 8, 9 million?
Like 6 at first and 7. He'll end up at around 10. Yeah.
So it's like $68 million on 2 quarterbacks.
Yeah. Yep.
So that makes no sense. So you just, like we said, you chasing the dragon with Jimmy, or you just using him to sell something that's not really viable.
Exactly.
But you don't want to tell the fan base that. Like y'all were going over, like you're in the same category with the Detroit Lions and the expansion Jacksonville Jaguars as far as winning seasons go.
Yes. That's true. Four in the last since 2003.
Embrace it as in like this is who we're gonna be. I'm saying accept it and say things are gonna change, but they're not gonna happen overnight. We made a mistake with Jimmy. We're moving on. We got this new guy. We're gonna build around him and take it forward.
Yeah, and give our best support to the new guy instead of riding the fence. Because when you ride the fence, you're not really doing either player justice, giving him his best chance to succeed, Jimmy or Trey. All right, let's move on to talk non-quarterbacks. So last year, Emmanuel Mosley and Dre Greenlaw kind of had down seasons, you could argue. I mean, they played better in 2019, I thought, than they did in 2020. It's important to remember that neither one was starting in training camp. When it started, the starters were Jason Verrett and Richard Sherman in the backfield, and Quan Alexander and Fred Warner at linebacker. Do you feel like the 49ers not building on Mosley and Greenlaw's success, sort of bumping them down the pecking order after a good rookie year, affected them?
I do think it did. I mean, you know, it's like people are like, you know, look at this season, like E-Man, you know, had trouble as far as, you know, a few games, but like he was locking up Metcalf, you know, in 2019, like no problem, like throw it over here all you want, Russell Wilson. The guy's not getting the ball. He was not a beast really until he played Philly in the playoffs, and we played him twice that year. He wasn't a problem for us, and we all know Sherman doesn't travel, so wasn't like Sherman was locking him up all over the field.
Right.
So, and the same with Greenlaw, like Juan got hurt. Greenlaw stepped in, and for one, I think I even told you, like, I didn't have high hopes for Greenlaw in the beginning. I'm like, who is this safety they're talking about making a linebacker? You know, he had a slow 40 time, I think, because he was injured at the time of the combine. You know, but he showed up. But it's like they always say football is about a meritocracy, you know, which like it's kind of an oxymoron if you know the history of America, you know. But it's like it's just about what you do on the field. Like, and these guys did it. And what was their reward? The reward was you
Demotion.
restructured Quan instead
Yeah.
of, what would that have made Greenlaw feel like? It's like, you know what? Like, Parag is smart. And he left us out in this Quan Alexander contract after 1 year because of his injury history. And we got lucky or good and drafted Greenlaw, and he is great. Let's move on. Like, love you, Quan. You got a motor, you all that, but this kid deserves it. We drafted him, and we don't have to pay him that much either. It works in your, back pocket as well. But they didn't do that. They restructured Quan and gave him back the starting job. Which,
right.
I mean, like you say, really, you look at the games, Greenlaw had played more for us than Quan, but they were both new to the team. So you didn't owe Quan Alexander anything. Like, then you got E-Man. Like, you drafted Witherspoon in the 3rd round. Like, he played excellent. I'm not taking anything away from him. At the early part of the season, at one point, I thought he and E-Man were the best 2 corners on the field at time. Like, but he crumbled after the injury. He came back from the injury and was never the same. E-Man stepped in, covered for him, did a good job. Then you took his job away again and you said, you know what, here's the playoffs. Had a week off, get Witherspoon's mind right, put him in again to start. And what does he do? Crumbles again against Minnesota.
Yep.
And you put E-Man in, and he does the job again.
Yes.
And he does the job again against Green Bay. And he does a pretty damn good job in the Super Bowl itself. Yeah. And then what do you do in the offseason? You say Jason Verrett, or you say it's a competition for the second cornerback job. I think even Sherman thought he was probably going to get the job because he was even, like he did with Witherspoon, kind of pumping him up in the offseason. Like, E-Man, he can really play this position. Now, I mean, I just think that does something to you psychologically if, you're not looking for confirmation, but it's your team. This is the team these young people have always played for. And it's like, y'all don't believe in me? Like, it's kind of makes you, it's almost like your parent, telling you they don't believe you can do it. Like, well, maybe I can. Like, whether I can or not.
But why is there not a meritocracy on the 49ers? To me, there was more of a meritocracy in the Harbaugh Niners, and I feel like you get the meritocracy when there's a clear separation between the front office and the coaching staff. If they're different people, the front office gets the people and they have the vision of who should be good and who's going to be the best. That's why they give certain players more money or draft them higher, but then the coaches get them and they don't care.
They don't
they don't care. And they're like, well, E-Man's better, so Okello, you're out. And whoever drafted him, maybe you should get fired. Sorry, not my problem. I'm here to play the best players. And I think that's what a lot of the AJ Jenkins stuff was. Like, Harbaugh's like, you want me to play this? I'm not going to. He's not good enough. I don't care. I don't care. And Kyle, he picks the players. So a lot of times he's trying to justify investments that he made. Jed York, he was like, Jed, I want you to give Jerick McKinnon a $10 million signing bonus because he's worth it. Right. Because he's good.
With us.
Yeah.
We need him.
All that stuff. So I feel like a lot of times you have Kyle Shanahan trying to justify his own investments.
I never thought of that, but that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Like we're saying, like Greenlaw was a late pick,
It's like, why can Kyle not see the truth here? Why can you not see? It's like your front office ego is preventing you from seeing the truth.
Yes.
Yes. You probably couldn't see the truth.
Like Richie James. Like you're sitting here holding on. Like Richie James did a low budget, everything you wanted Pettis to do. Low budget. I'm not saying he's the world beater, but he did. He returned punts, kickoffs.
He was always better than Pettis. He was always better than Pettis.
But he never gets run. And I mean, I understand people are like, like worried about the number 3. Like, you do not do what he did against Green Bay as a bad player.
No.
You see what I'm saying? Like, you don't rack up that type of yardage if you can't play receiver.
It's not like there was anyone else on the Niners drawing coverage or attention. Who else was healthy that day?
Or he had a great quarterback throwing him the ball. So
that wasn't the case.
Kyle is just a genius. His offensive scheme just has this guy. No, look
not for Pettis.
His whole career.
Yeah,
that's showing you.
Yes,
he can play, but nobody wants to give him a chance.
So let me ask you, with this topic, Mosley and Greenlaw, what can they not? Who does this apply to this year? Richie James, Ross Dwelly,
I would probably say a D lineman pops.
Kevin Givens.
Yeah,
Who?
because I see kind of, that leads me to something I didn't leave you on the topic of. It's like Kinlaw. Like,
Yeah.
I remember the guy from Alabama that went to the Redskins, the D tackle.
Yeah.
Like, he seemed like a beast. I don't remember Kinlaw being this beast in the SEC that people say he was. What did he have? Like 3.5, 4.5 sacks?
Yeah.
But people are like, Kinlaw, he was a monster in the SEC. It's just a matter of time. Like, I didn't see that on the tape. I saw that with Buckner coming out of Oregon.
Yeah.
Like I said, with the Alabama D tackle, but I didn't see that with Kinlaw. And it's like everybody says, like, I find it suspect because all you tell me is how big he is.
That's right.
That's
and when Brian Baldinger puts out clips, like they're all run defense clips. I think he has potential to be a good run defender because he's so big and he moves pretty well for his size, but there's no finesse to his game. There's no like, here's a move and here's a counter. It's just bull rush.
And you're not drafting a D tackle at 3 to be a run stopper.
No, you are not. But
you can pick up a journeyman D tackle off the scrap.
But that's what Armstead is too, honestly. And they've done it twice now in the last. Yep, it's Armstead. Yep. So
exactly the one that can do both is who? The guy they shipped out of town.
So I'll be watching this in training camp to see which guys are being unfairly pushed down the depth chart because Kyle Shanahan didn't predict that they would be good. J and Zay says, has Trey Lance already won over the locker room? I don't know. I'm not in the locker room yet, but all I got to say, tell me if you noticed this. When OTA started, everyone was talking about Jimmy. He looks great. Best we've seen him in a while. By the time OTAs were over, I only saw 2 practices. There were 9. Everyone was talking about Trey Lance. Kittle, the coaches. Wow, he learned the whole offense. He really has a strong arm. He really fits the ball in those times. That's all I've heard anyone talk about Jimmy in a while. That's all I noticed. That's all I noticed.
I think that's inevitable. It's kind of hard not to. Like, I mean, the players aren't dumb. They know.
Exactly.
Like, everybody knows. It's like, we drafted this kid number 3. Like, who is Kittle talking to? The guy that's eventually going to get him the ball. Like,
you can talk about experience and all that stuff you want, but if I'm on I played soccer. I'm not that good. If I'm on a soccer field and I'm 33, and I'm on the field with some 21-year-old, and he's not quite as experienced as me, but I can see the kind of stuff he can do, the kind of shots he can hit with his left foot. It's like, well, this guy's much more talented. Everyone's going to know it in 10 minutes. I'm screwed. I feel like that's kind of what happened. Like, you can see this guy move. You can see him throw the ball down the field, and you're like, yeah, man, I've been practicing with Jimmy Garoppolo for 5 years, and this is something he never does, never going to do. I like this kid.
Well, the other thing to me is, like, and nobody brings this up anymore, like, and it's the same reason I don't want Sherman back. Like, it looked a lot like both of those players quit on the team last year. Like, Jimmy looked real good late in the season in those practice tapes, dancing around, throwing the ball, but he didn't get back out on the field because he thought the same thing they did. They tried to get rid of it, and he felt that was coming. So he wanted to be healthy in case it happened. And Sherman, he knew he wasn't coming back to the 49ers, and he wanted to be healthy. So I think the players remember that. Like, Kittle came back. So Kittle probably feels really some type of way about that.
Yep.
But, you got to be in the locker room with these guys.
Kittle even talked about it, remember? I said that Kittle shouldn't play because he's too important. And in a press conference, he was like, oh, didn't you say that I shouldn't play and then I should just practice my little heart out? Well, I'm going to play my little heart out. And it was funny. Him and Kyle kept making a big point of it. Like, well, why are you playing these guys? The season's over. And he was like, because they're football players, because this is what we do.
What they do.
And I was like, well, who are they talking to right now, Jimmy?
And I know
they're talking to Jimmy directly.
The Jimmy footage was not like you sideline beat reporters footage. It was some sharp Niners production.
It's true.
They put the footage down.
Look at him. Look at him.
Good.
He moves he's practicing quite well, but why won't he play? Well, that's a question for Jimmy. It's a Jimmy question. So I don't think it's hard for a quarterback to win over the locker room after what may have happened last year.
Right. Plus the injuries. We like you, Jimmy, but you can't stay on the field.
And we don't want your injuries
if you don't throw me a medicine ball against the Cardinals.
That's right. And I don't want your injury issues to ruin all the work that all of us have gone through for the 3rd year. I mean, it's a lot of work starting in spring. I mean, Jeff Wilson Jr. has already torn his meniscus in preparation for this marathon. So sorry, Jimmy. Everything falls apart when his contract goes to the IR. Last question. If you could buy stock in one 49ers player, who would it be? It's a tough question. Because you got someone like Fred Warner, that's an expensive stock. That's like investing in Apple. Everyone knows that's a good stock.
And even though like Trey Lance, that would be like an IPO that opened, but it opens at a high number, because everybody wants that stock. So it's not opening at a penny stock.
Well, Chris Sims has him at 38 right now in the league. I'm curious to see what his value would be. A lot of people are like, well, Division II, he didn't play last year. Okay. All right. Drive that value down.
What was McNair? What was that, a Division II school?
Yes. He went to Alcorn State, man. I mean,
Alcorn State. It might have been an HBCU.
I think it was.
If I could buy stock in a player, I'm probably going to be a little conservative and go with the offensive lineman.
Okay.
With bench. Okay. You're talking about a monster of a man. You're talking about a position you can play 20 years in the league easily. Injuries aren't really a factor because it's not like you don't need to be running 40-yard dashes. So I think that's the kind of player I would, maybe invest in if I had to put some stock in.
Okay. Aaron Banks, that's a good one. I think I'm leaning toward Lance, even though you make a good point that it's not going to be as cheap as you think, but I do think it has the ability to explode. If you want to make some real money,
that's the stock I want. I want the Lance stock.
I want the Lance stock.
QB stock, but I like to say, and I think somebody was saying Sims put a lot of emphasis on if you haven't played yet, because I think isn't Trevor Lawrence and Wilson, pretty low as well.
Yep.
So it's kind of, that one's kind of, I think they're probably better than that, but until I see them on the field, I'm going to put them here, kind of make them earn their spot, as far as in his rankings.
I think I would pony up for the Lance stock, but that depends on what it's going for. Let's talk about some penny stocks. It might be
worth it, like Apple. Yeah. Even if you bought Apple at 15,
I wouldn't go for Bosa. I'm scared about his injury issue. That's a stock that could fall apart. I wouldn't go for Kittle. Same.
Yeah, Kittle definitely. No. And age.
Yes.
I just got into a little tit about Kittle, and Kelsey, and I'm not saying Kittle is awful, but Kelsey, the numbers, and they were like, well, Mahomes, he was doing that before Mahomes, Yeah, Alex Smith is good for a tight end, but the touchdowns, what does Kelsey do that Kittle doesn't? Besides being a better blocker, and
that's the thing. Kittle fans really point to his blocking, and blocking is important, but Travis Kelce has 48 touchdowns in his career, and George Kittle has 14. So touchdowns are also important. I'll take touchdowns over blocking. Really, you can get blocking. You can get blocking in late rounds.
But see, that's what people do. They latch on to whatever kind of booster point. Who is the great tight end in history that we point to that was just a great blocker? Even Mike Ditka, he was probably a great blocker, but he caught the ball too. He did a lot of things. Even our history, our tight ends caught the ball.
Vernon Davis caught a ton of touchdowns.
Gonzalez. You don't become a great tight end by being a great blocker. You got to do more than that. But if this is your guy, and this is one of his best attributes, well, then you're gonna put that out there and that defeats the purpose.
Kelsey can't block like him. He's not a real tight end. Okay, well, whatever you want to call him.
He's so good at blocking. Why are we paying use check?
Right. Yeah. That's
we need a great blocking fullback and a tight end, and we need the highest paid lineman in the league, left tackle. Some of these things, I meant to bring up Brunk scale as far as the luck too. That year, 2019, like you said, the injuries that did get covered up, 2 of them were by Brunskill, and that was complete luck coming from the European League or something, wherever he was from. And that's another guy, like you say, everything's circular. Why didn't you leave him the swing tackle? Or, you know what I'm saying? Why did you end up making him and I've never heard of a team trying to make an O lineman play every position. Who's
I know.
that?
I know. I know. That's been bugging you since forever. Yeah.
We're gonna have him be the swing tackle, backup guard, and center.
Yeah.
Then
Okay.
like
Good luck.
school, we want him to be all five. Like, no.
Why? Yeah. Who does
Jack
that?
of all trades,
But hold
master.
on. I want to finish this topic this way. What are some penny stocks you think that could blow up?
Penny stocks.
Some penny stocks. Like I think Richie James Jr. is one right now.
Richie, yeah.
Who's to say Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk will make it through training camp in one piece? These are some serious training camps, man. They both pull muscles. Richie James does too.
One of those guys goes out, it's not good at all.
So Richie James is the next man up. Ross Dwelly's the next man up. If Kittle goes down again, two guys.
True.
Yeah.
I like Mitchell. I like the running back Mitchell as a penny stock.
Okay.
You know, with the attrition we have at running back, you know, I could really see that kid just like not even wanting, but just getting an opportunity, you know, due to injury and really, you know, running, you know, literally with the ball.
Yeah.
And with his speed. And I mean, you know, y'all were talking about catching the ball. Like he was the guy I heard, you know, most about in OTAs or in rookie mini camp. Like he was catching the ball with his hands away from his body. Like they said he looked real good as far as a pass catcher. So he can, you know, if he can pick up the pass blocking, you know, which is definitely key, as Bish was saying, you know, then I could definitely see that kid making a name for himself. But I think it's like in past years. I think you'll know early in the season. It'll kind of show itself, those penny stocks. I don't know that we know who they are right now because, you know, y'all only get to see so much, you know. But I think time will show. It's gonna be like they've been so lucky in that aspect, and I think that'll continue.
Last year it was Jason Verrett,
right? Yeah, and that was a penny stock they put money into, and it's been fruitful. You know, now they're double dipping, you know, planning on it, but at least it's only 1 year.
That's true. Yeah.
But I'm glad they didn't go after another receiver. Like after that many years, you know, like come on, like 1 year, stay away from receiver.
Seriously, how many wide receivers are you going to draft in a 4-year period? You got a lot of them. Give them a chance. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to. And Croc said the same thing about cornerback. You know, the year we all thought, oh, they got to draft the cornerback. Croc was like, nah, they're not drafting the cornerback. Like they got Witherspoon, they got E-Man, they got these other guys, they got T. Moore they're trying to turn into a cornerback at the time. So he was like, nah. And I mean, I think they were wise not to invest in that position. Now, I'm not saying every pick was wise because you probably didn't need Sermon. Like, you know, he could be a good running back, but we talked about this. Like, unless the running back coach just really wanted him because he deserves a guy, you know. So unless Bobby Turner just came in there and, you know, put his foot down and said, which I don't think he would have done that for Sermon. I don't see that type of skill set. But if he did, then I'm with it. If not, like history has shown, you don't need to draft your running back. Maybe other teams do, but you don't need to.
Yeah, that's true. Hey, it's noon here on the West Coast. I got to wrap it up here. I really appreciate you coming on short notice. Great as always, man. You killed it. Thank you.
Always my pleasure, Grant. You have a good day.
We'll catch back up during training camp when more things happen. All right.
Sounds like a plan. Right.
Thanks, everyone, for watching. I'll be back 3 o'clock, all 49ers roundtable with the usual suspects. See you then.